What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Be Battle Ready podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Campo, and I created this podcast to give you the insights, strategies, and tactics to help you build a multiple six-figure battle-ready business. And it's not just this podcast. If you head over to battlereadybusiness.com, you can learn more about my coaching. The framework of this podcast, each week we'll cover a different topic. Week 1, we'll cover leadership. Week 2, we'll cover marketing. Week 3, we'll cover sales. And week 4, we'll cover lifestyle and personal development. We do this by having deep dive conversations with leaders, influencers, movers, and shakers in their respective areas of expertise. So sit back, relax, and enjoy today's show.
All right, what's up, everybody? This is Anthony Campo of Battle Ready Business. I'm with Andre Guerra. He's a marketer. I've known him for a long time. Seen him grow in his career, and I'll let him do himself justice and introduce himself.
What's up, everybody? Don't know how many are watching, but I'm here in sunny Brightside, Oregon, while Anthony, I believe, is in Utah. Right? Is that where you're at?
Utah. It's probably like 85 out. So
I've known Anthony probably since, when you were just starting CrossFit Surf City. I think it was back in 2000. Oh man, like 2009, 2008,
2010.
Okay, right around there. So since then, we've gone our ways and kind of come back to this whole situation where Anthony's helping businesses grow, and it's really, really cool. And happy to be a part of this live broadcast. So long story short about myself, not to get too deep into it, I would say I'm a designer first, marketer second. I started doing websites when I was 14, 28 now. So it's been a bit of a long road. Started this with my dad back then because I wasn't old enough to start a business yet. And that's sort of when I met Anthony to sort of kick off my portfolio with the CrossFit City website way long ago. So blast from there. 14.
That was a good website, man. It did really well.
It's so much.
A long time.
You were a content machine. You still are, but back then it was like you had the most content on your site. I remember you having just archives and archives of blog articles. It was like, I think 200 pages worth of articles. Like, oh my God, this is insane.
Well, the site, like I still have, I think I just deleted like off our FTP server, and it was 26 gigs.
Oh my God, that's insane. That's insane.
So, it was a lot. Yeah.
So, I mean, if anyone was a content king at their small business, it was this guy right here. But anyways, long story short, working in a few different fitness franchises and at 24 Hour Fitness for a while, I decided to sort of marry my two passions at the time with fitness and websites and start a web/marketing agency for the fitness industry. And so for about almost 4 years now, we've been, working hands-on with fitness franchises, corporations, small mom and pops, studios to kind of get their feet on the ground running as far as their website and sort of, how we can better their lead generation and their conversion. Basically, we just found a big hurting for the industry and a need for that sort of optimization work to help them get more qualified leads in the door and help that customer, that end consumer, that potential member to feel brands even more. So that was our whole mission, our pitch to go after these guys. And now, I'm positioning this to sort of be carried on without me and want to go kind of move on to my solo project and work more on the design end and get more hands-on with user analytics and, heat maps and conversion paths and that sort of thing, and work more closely with a few clientele versus sort of trying to help an entire industry. It's a lot easier, a lot more to digest, and I can sleep at night. But I mean, other than that, or go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I would say other than that, on the side, I have two kids. Anthony's a new dad, so we're almost there. Mine are 6 and 3, and they keep me busy. And Anthony will soon find out once they get in school how crazy life gets. But Yeah, I think my mission these days is just to stay healthy and not get sick every time they come home with the cold from being at school. So
Yeah.
and a lovely
Yeah.
wife who handles it all day, every day. So kudos to her. I'd rather do this job than that one.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Like, I remember how many different ventures. I mean, talk about entrepreneur, like early on, all that stuff. Like, it was like you're always trying something new, right? Like, always trying to launch something new. And honestly, like, you know, looking back, I'm like, man, like that's awesome because, like, you know, you were always trying, and most people don't try.
You know, I think a lot of it is, you know, I think, you know, there's that whole get rich quick type business ventures that people try to look for all the time. Like, oh, this could be doable. I think it's not so much these days. Like, there are those opportunities where if you have like good ideas and you want to pursue it, and if it seems easy, hopefully it seems easy because you've done the work to make it easy. You know, a lot of people say like, oh, you know, how come a website costs this much or something like that when you can turn it over in 30 days? Like, well, you know, it's not that anyone could turn it over in 30 days or something like that. It would be more, I've built up the knowledge and the experience to be able to get it done in 30 days efficiently. So you're paying for that expertise to have it to you more expertly, flipped over to you. So speaking of ventures, that's kind of like, yeah, I mean, you can see this was a, marketing office. We have like all kinds of we're going through a little bit of a renovation right now, but you can see drumsticks over here, completely off the wall. Different thing. I think the key here, the lesson is to sometimes you get stuck in the mud and you need other things to pull you out, and it may not be your main adventure, and you may find passions in other industries that you don't even know. The cool thing is to experiment and not put all your eggs in one basket. As cliche as it sounds.
So, one of the concepts or the overarching principles, like being battle ready. So, and this show goes through a series of each week's a different topic, this being marketing. So how do you see, like, if you're going to make a business battle ready, either a brand new business, a side hustle, or, just a everyday small business, you know what I mean? How do you see that? What would be the things that you would have them do?
I mean, I feel like we've heard it before, but it's really been, especially Brendan over here, he'll be the first one to tell you that your brand message is super key. Your story and establishing who you are and what brings you, away from just being a part of the crowd of small businesses out there. From what I've seen and what I've worked with in the past, the businesses that have the story, and even if you feel like it's not that interesting, to a lot of people it really is. You just have to figure out a way to tell it in an interesting way. It's kind of like stand-up comedy. Like most stand-ups these days, it's just telling stories about their everyday life. They're just making it funny. When if he was just telling a story not on stage, it wouldn't be as funny. So position your brand to tell a story of how it started, what your message is. And if you don't have that yet, really figure out like why you're in business. What is it that what keeps you waking up in the morning and motivated? Because if you don't have that and you can't tell it, then you're just going to get lost in the crowd of people and you're going to be forgotten. So I would say that's number one. Focus on your brand statement, your story, and your purpose on why you exist and why you want to help people. That's ultimately what businesses are. It's just people helping people. The second thing is to get really, really close in on your creative. What makes a huge difference is if you put a lot of effort and time and attention into that creative work in your brand. I know it may seem kind of like that hoity-toity expensiveness, that fluff on top of a brand, where you make things look nice. But if you go that extra mile, like for instance, I was just working with a vegan snack box where they'll be selling, sort of like a subscription model where every month you'll get a box of vegan snacks. It's a really cool concept. There's a few things out there like that, but what made a huge difference is if we can brand the box in their own unique way, where if they could see that box, say, wow, that's done by this company, and I recognize that brand. It's really fun. It's lighthearted. It speaks to me. It looks like a young brand. I think that that's what's going to differentiate them from the typical snack box that are out there. So I would say story, messaging, and then your creative. Get really close into that. And then third, which people a lot of people probably argue should be your first, but I technically like to put it third, is work on your processes. So make sure when you have a new customer, new client, you know exactly how you're going to take care of that client, the steps they're going to go through, and transparency is key in that step, because you want to make sure that they know exactly what you're working on. And as annoying as it sounds, most clients want to hear from you all the time. And, unfortunately, you can't really give them that time and attention. So if you have a really good set process, they know what phases you're working on or what stages you're working on. If you're working for like a long relationship type client, then they're going to feel more rest assured that they're working with the right person, because you've already set them up for success and they know what to expect from you. Versus, if you're working with them and you got to go to sleep for a week or two, they're going to be thinking of you like, what am I spending money on? You got to make sure you're always staying in their head and you're always providing value to them. So processes.
Absolutely. I mean, I think being around a lot of small businesses throughout my business career, stepping into my mom's business when she was doing it by herself, merging our two.
I remember that. I remember doing that website.
Yeah. Oh man, like it's like that was one of the first things that I took on was actually the bookkeeping, like, because like there was no systems or processes around that. And it's like, as I go along and like I used to be all into content, but at the same time in the background, it was about system and process. But as I go along now and I get older, I'm like, okay, how is this going to get done? That's the first question, right?
Yeah.
Like, what does that look like? And I'm actually going to be working with a client on Wednesday, building out her fulfillment process. And she's like, what's that? And I was like, well, it's like when a customer says yes, what happens? Right? Yeah. What's step one? What's step two? What's step three? What's step four? Like, if they say yes, then what's going to happen and how you're going to do it? But yeah, like that's like with Battle Ready Business and giving a blueprint, it's creating not just like your vision and why you're doing it, your brand message, but like what are the systems and processes go behind that? You know what I mean? Like from marketing, like what does that look like? When do you start planning that? Like when do you start doing financial planning for the year? Like all that stuff, like lay all that out. Because once you get that down, it's just showing up, I mean, yeah, there's some other stuff in there, and it's actually doing your product or service well, or really good, but if you have that laid out, it just runs efficiently.
Yeah. And I would say to add to that, I mean, there's two things with that. The first thing that, I kind of, heard you mention is that you were going right into the bookkeeping. And I think it's really important, especially a small business where you can sort of grasp your initial concept, to have an understanding of all departments. And I know you may have only gone to school for design, you might have only gone to school for marketing, or you may have only, know how to do bookkeeping, but it's really, really important if you're going to be the owner of a company and have people that work with you to understand their roles and understand their values. And by doing that, you have to understand what their process is and what they're going to be doing for you. So you may not need to know, like for instance, I may not need to know full on JavaScript to do my job, but I do need to understand the concepts around it and the type of work that I'm going to be expecting from someone I work with, of a senior developer. So that way I can know if they're doing a good job, and you can establish those milestones so you can grow with your employees. The second thing, knowing those processes, it's going to help the confidence in the business, especially when you're working with a sales team. Just from what we've experienced, if we have a really, really good internal process down and we know exactly what we're selling or what we're presenting, what our purpose is, going back to that story, your sales team and your staff are going to have that confidence that you can service a new client or new customer when something else comes in. And then you just get this whole morale culture boost throughout your whole company when you have all that stuff down, because it just feels like, it all goes back to your name, Battle Ready. You know what I mean? If you don't have a good army, you don't have a good front line, and no one has a good commander and leader. It's another part about it as a leader is it's going to be really, really tough to have everyone on the same page on your team and to drive your business forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And then let's talk about brand message, because like I do hear a lot of people like, you got to go sell first, and all, which I completely agree. You got to sell, you be able to sell your product or service. Mm-hmm. I was at a conference it was coming up on 2 weeks now ago. And, the whole idea was giving yourself the concept as a business owner, you're a marketer first. you're a closer second, right? But within marketing, you got to communicate a message. And it's like, look, branding isn't marketing. Branding isn't whatever. But what I realized throughout, I was like, man, all this stuff, your brand, whatever that crest is, whatever that emblem is, whatever that name is, it's communicating a message, right? Colors, all that stuff, right? And how important that is. And I see a lot of people like just neglect that, right? Just treat it like crap. And there's no reason to in this day and age. Like, there's ways to get a really great brand or even if you're just starting off, like, super easy, right? Oh, I don't know where to get a logo designed. I'm like, I'll be honest. Like, I went to Adobe Stock and got, what we got. Like, because we're just starting out, right? I didn't need anything, but it communicates something, So it's part of what within that blueprint, that battle ready blueprint we go through. And yeah, I mean, you're a brander, you're a marketer. So I want to hear your points of view on this.
So that kind of touches on the second thing, is that creative, right? So, I hear a lot of, I talk to a lot of people where situations where they try to be perfect from day one. And I think, sort of like for me, it's like when I start writing like a essay or something, which I haven't done since college, but, or if I start like a new painting, if you follow my art on Instagram, which I need to get back on, it's all about just starting and not being perfect in your own eyes day one. And first of all, you're never going to be perfect in your own eyes. You're always going to be working your own work all the time. So stop thinking that way. Just start with something, get your message out there, show it in front of, your friends and family, just to make sure you're on point with, what you're trying to say and you're not completely way off in your own head, and then fine tune from there. Just start though. If you go back and look at some of the best websites out there, there's no way they started out where they are now. Amazon, it was this terrible looking bookstore, and it just, don't let that hold you back from getting out your message and working with customers and getting that experience. Because I know there's been so many instances where I've even, for myself, have gone in my own way just because I wanted to be perfect from day one, or I wanted to compete with like the big guys who have been doing it for 10 plus years. Let's just be real. That's not where you're there. We're not where you're there yet. And so, even if you were that type of brand right now, chances are you actually being ready for that type of business to come in are probably pretty slim. So the whole idea of it is to grow with your business and not bite off more than you could chew.
Yeah, absolutely. Marketing, a lot of times you talk about meeting with the customer where they're at, right? And, I kind of flipped that a little bit and was like, you got to meet yourself where you're at, right? Like you can look to them for, the big guys or people who are doing it really well as a model.
Yeah.
But in that, and then, I put up I have a daily version called the Daily Battle, where it's just a podcast, right? Just the thought of the day. And actually I saw this post from somebody and it just kind of reframed it in a different way. It was a similar message, but he said, when you're sitting around trying to figure out how to do it half right, someone's out there doing it half wrong. So,
yeah,
you know what I mean? It's just, it's a great way to look at it. And there's nothing better of a teacher than doing.
Right. That's key with, especially if you're starting off, is to, there's going to be a ton of roadblocks that come in your way, a ton of things where you have to readjust or you feel like you just can't move forward. It's all perspective. It's all of how you look at things. Almost everything that you can possibly run into while running a business has a light to it. It has a silver lining. And a really, really good book that I recommend that I haven't finished listening to yet is, what surprisingly is Kevin Hart's book. He does a really, really good job at teaching his mindset through his career and sort of how he's flipped everything in his world to be this sort of positive learning experience outcome. And I think that's how you need to look at things when you're going into a new business venture. You just need to look at it as, I'm going to fail. I'm going to run into roadblocks. I'm going to have situations where I'm going to be struggling. But at the end of the day, you hit the same pillow you woke up on, and you just got to get up and try it again and do something new. That's my safe point. It's like, no matter how rough the day is, like, especially when I'm telling my wife, like, the kids can be really, hard one day, or work can be really tough with clients. And Like no matter what, you're still going to lay down at the end of the day, hopefully, here I'll save. And you're going to wake up and do something different. And you don't have to keep doing the same thing over and over again. You could choose to do something different and look at something in a new way. So
very cool.
How many do we have viewers? Is it just you and I?
I'm on full screen, so I usually go on full screen with this.
I mean, normally it doesn't really matter. I mean, this is
Cody joined. So,
what up, Cody?
So how do you guys? What do you do to pull the message out of your customer?
Pull the message. Well, I mean, it all.
Like we talked about this brand message, what they're trying to accomplish. Like, do you have a process that you work with them?
So personally, when I have a client and they have a company that they're rebranding or they're going through a new site, I like to just run an initial brain dump, just kind of get everything that they're passionate about their business, what they offer, who they target, and kind of just lay it all out in front of them, and then basically work with them on sessions to fine tune, basically, nail down their elevator pitch and why they get up every day. And so it's just a matter of getting everything out of their head, like completely everything. And I mean, just a good exercise is where they just have literally they've given you everything. You know exactly why they're doing this, how they started, where they're going to go, where they're planning on going. And if they don't know that yet, then it's up to you to help them kind of guide them with, with your experience of working at other companies or, other companies in their space where they've been, and to start getting them to see the bigger picture. And so with them, it's all about sort of just putting that in visually, up on the wall where you're printing out words or statements or photos and really just, I mean, you see these big design offices and these people just kind of have this huge mood board of just stuff. And you wonder why, okay, why do I need to go through all that just because I want to make a silly Instagram icon logo? I mean, the whole point is to make sure that everyone is on the same page with what they're thinking in their heads. And then you sort of combine all of that into this fine-tuned product. I mean, that's so just like a final, a statement for what you asked, is basically make sure you ask all the questions to give you all the information that they have in their head. So you have everything you can to work with to fine tune what their messaging is going to be.
Nice.
Because too many times where we run into a situation where the agency is asking the questions instead of having the client tailor the questions and more just kind of giving them the microphone to just give what it is that they're doing. So instead of just running just a one parallel survey, just have a session, just a brainstorming session, just talk to them and get to know them personally and how they function and work, not just about business and the logistics and how they run.
Very cool. Cool, man. So, what's this next venture? I mean, you're going into graphics design? What's going on there?
Well, I mean, personally, I'm going to be branching off in my own sort of freelance, situation where I'll be working hands-on with other agencies to do some of their coding work that they need help on, or sort of just brand direction with the design. I'm doing a lot of mock-ups these days, just sort of just get the messaging across and to sort of as the staple point to get kind of breathing life to the brands they work with. And, hopefully forming a collaborative with Brendan that was back here, eventually to kind of bring together creative minds and sort of work on projects together where it's just no matter every day is a new creative project, a new adventure, and just sort of making connections and making contacts to where, I have open options and I'm not tied down to one specific brand. And, at the same time, respectfully giving the time that my clients deserve. Because right now I'm I'm mixed between many different things, and I'm focusing on getting that down to one so I can focus on my craft and what I love doing best, which is that design work and that user analytics and conversion process through design. Because that can really, really make a difference. I think a lot of people, when it comes down to design solely, they think they jump straight into marketing before they worry about like, is this landing page going to convert well? Is it going to, is my messaging clear on it? I have a really, really great case study with the brand I work with, the HealthWorks group in Boston, where we had a really simple landing page. And you would think that, for a trial pass for a club, that you would just need something simple. It's a trial pass. They know the club, just the form. But we killed their conversion rate by over 50% by making it a long story page where it told their brand story, and people were scrolling because they stayed engaged, and they were able to see the brand all on one page versus just a quick little turn and goes looking sales pitch page. So that kind of stuff, making those stories, making those client case studies, so that way we can better brands and make them more trustworthy in the market.
Nice. You wouldn't think, right? I mean, I've been on a lot of sales pages and stuff, and I'm just like,
let's
get like, what's the point?
You kind of get the sense after a while, like which ones you're going to have a sales pitch at the end of it, or you're going to have a wacky call, or you're going to have just like 5 emails from them per day. And that's, to me, I want to get closer to just more tied into beautiful imagery and getting brands to be more relatable to their, growing younger audiences.
Yeah. So I know that, you were initially, for a while working off of HubSpot, you're really in tight with their processes and what they're doing. Where have you progressed from there? Are you still?
So we continue to work with HubSpot. We prefer that I like them to be the all-encompassing holy grail marketing software. And in fact, we have this here. I'll stand up for a second.
Nah, it's all right. I'm pretty informal on this. So
this little thing here at Platinum Agency, little thing we just kind of toss in the back. But this here basically we've worked with them quite a while, and basically I'm personally comfortable working their software. I like working with them because they're so transparent with their team members. They give direct access to the people, in the upper ranks to if we need help. And, as a software, they have a long way to go with the design end, but they've come a long way too. Let's not forget, how far they've come. And I think as a marketing software as itself, it's great. They need to focus more on the design side, which is my particular area. But as far as, working with other softwares, I just feel like, the ease and the training that they provide in the academy is just far better than what I've seen. You may beg to differ. You've probably used it's funny, every single freaking marketing software on Facebook, the first thing that comes up at the top is Anthony Campo like this. Like, Jesus, how many marketing things has he? You've probably tried almost all of them. Which is
I would be like, I think I would be a good business software salesperson because I get it.
You would.
I think the first week I do have a HubSpot sales account because I didn't have anything. I wasn't going to start with anything. I was just going to go with MailChimp. And then for some reason, I think MailChimp shut me down because of the name of my domain, Battle Ready. And I'm like, whatever. So then I'm on Active Campaign right now. So, which is pretty good. It's pretty simple. Not as confusing as Infusionsoft, but I was on Infusionsoft for a number of years. And it's good. It's just my biggest frustration is you have, I was writing an actual over the weekend, right? What happens when a client books, right? Mm-hmm. Books an appointment. So I want a confirmation email, all this other stuff going out. I want my VA, my client coordinator to call and say, hey, what's up? All this other stuff, right? So I've got to use Active Campaign, Schedule Once, Email Me form, and then Zapier to integrate some of this stuff. And I'm like, this is stupid. So, I appreciate it. I've seen some of the kind of played around with HubSpot, and I appreciate, what they, how they do have the sales platform, and then they have the marketing. It's all one, they're all one universe,
Yeah. I think, I would say, and this isn't, a hark on them really, it's just their model. The biggest downfall with HubSpot, with us working with clientele, is the idea of 1-year agreements. Like, to me, if you're really creating marketers and you're really creating habits out of people to use your software, it should be a give it to stay with you. You shouldn't have to lock them in. You know what I mean? Like, the content should be the reason why you stay and not because your agreement. There's been so many situations where we've had a client that has been using it or they just don't see the value in it, that want out. It's like, okay, that's honestly, like, in an honest system, that's, in my opinion, that's how you should run it. But I know they're a public traded company now, so I understand they got to hit quotas and so that does play a role in it.
Forecasts.
Yeah. So there is an appreciation for those startups that come up that are just starting off. They're in seed rounds or Series A, where they don't have to do that. They're really just getting, like, Hotjar. Mad respect for Hotjar. I mean, they're full partners now with HubSpot, but they started with a whole referral program where you get your buddy to sign up and you get early access to the beta. Like, I think they were like the staple point for that type of model, where getting, that initial, refer a friend and get in early and then get like a free lifetime membership and things like that. Like, to me, that's like your community building. It's still month to month. People are appreciating, you're relying on word of mouth. You're really building a really solid piece of software because it's people driven. So
Yeah. That was like, I remember watching, the guy was selling basically a whole marketing campaign that would plug into like Infusionsoft and all these other stuff. It was a Dropbox campaign.
Yeah.
So like, Dropbox, when they probably still do it, but you'd get free storage, extra storage every time you refer somebody.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I would say, I like trying new things, but I can, you got to be careful, because if you don't really understand your habits as a person and how you like to work, you tend to try to fit yourself into the software that you're trying to use versus the software fitting you. So just this, like for me, simple is better. I hate logging into software. I hate checking all these little timelines and stuff. I mean, the best one that I've ever used by far, just for organizational, purposes, is Trello, because it's visual, it's simple, and I don't have to get too deep into it and do all these setups. That's the alleyway. Someone's throwing garbage. So that's my take on the software market. I feel like HubSpot again is getting up there to be probably like the top well-respected, and they have a really nice UI that they're working with, and just don't be afraid to try other things. And if you can avoid a 1-year annual agreement initially, then do it.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. So if people want to get a hold of you, like, who's your client right now? I mean, I know you're branching off, but
well, I'm actually flying to Philadelphia tomorrow to meet up with a client. My main cheese right now. It's City Fitness Philly. They're in Philly. They're like the up and coming brand in the Philadelphia area, where they're really exploding. Generating some really, really good audience feedback with their brand, and just like their brand positioning that they've been working with. I've been working really close with Tom, their marketing director over there, and so I'm flying over there to meet the team, and I'm really excited to work with them. Aside from that, if you're looking to get a hold of me just from advice, or just if you want to just shoot the shit, you could just, I'm sure you'll include my email somewhere, but it's andre@cleverbison.com. I'm kind of using that as my name right now. But yeah, feel free to reach out. I'm going to be all over the place, sort of helping out some buddies and friends, but more so working exclusively with City Fitness to help increase their conversion rates and really strengthen their brand online.
Very cool. Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on, and
No problem. Anytime. It was fun.
Yeah, for sure, bro. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, that wraps this week's episode of the Be Battle Ready podcast, brought to you by Battle Ready Business. If you're an aspiring entrepreneur or current business owner and you'd like to take your business to the next level, go over to battlereadybusiness.com to apply for a complimentary one-on-one Battle Ready strategy session. During this session, we'll take a deep dive look into where you're at, where you want to go, and come up with the fastest path for you to build a multi-six-figure battle-ready business. So go over to battlereadybusiness.com to apply for that strategy session, and I look forward to supporting you.